All right, team. So we've got our widget all made. Everything showed up with label 25. If any time when we did this, if we had hazard signs or well, I call them hazard signs, but any errors here, you'd want to investigate to see if possibly you may have typed a name here. If I hit the edit button here, if any of these names here didn't correspond to the correct tag name that's being used in the graphic, then you would have seen a disconnect, or you would have seen where something didn't turn to label 25 or so forth. If this still had the temperature value, that meant it's still connected to the real tag. So you'd want to fix that, or you'll find out here shortly in the next step where that error will show up. So I've got this saved on my hard drive here. Let me double check here. Over here in widgets. And I guess I should have watched the previous video. Did I save it? Yep, there it is right there. Yep, that's it. Correct. Okay, yep, got it. All right. So now the next thing I want to do is with this thing at the label 25, let's go over to data tags on the left here. And if you notice here, data tags, let's see if it loads. We're using, of course, for this whole example, temp F and these down here. So in this pre-built database that we're using, I've got this divider right here. This is nothing more than just a folder, but with a bunch of underscores for a name. I just put that in as a divider. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this MyTank, for instance. So I've called it MyTank, and now what I want to do is I want to put these tags that we're using into this folder because our actual widget is using folder binding, and I'm going to show you how that really is really cool. So I'm going to have to grab these and drag and drop them, boom, on that folder. And you'll notice they go in the folder when they get indented. And so I also get a black kind of line following, showing where they're at. Now, they don't have to go in the same exact order, and this is sometimes a challenge in class. But anyway, I'll put them in there. I do have a lot of times students will ask, why can't I just, why couldn't I just do something like this, highlight all of them, move in there? Well, unfortunately, you can't do that. Crimson won't let you do that, and I think the real reason why is because every time I do one of these individually, Crimson is recompiling, and it's going through the whole database, and it's adding now the folder name, folder suffix to everywhere in the database we're using. So that's why you can't grab multiple at a time. It's one at a time thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these guys in here. There we go. Okay, now, they're all in the folder, and I always say this in class, to check to make sure everything's in the folder, if you hit the, let's see if my arrow tool works, if you collapse the tree, and they all disappear. All these up here are for the HVAC class I teach, but we're doing the tank one today. So if they all disappear, that means they're all in that folder. If you happen to collapse this and you still see one of those hanging out, it's not in the folder. So I've got them all in the folder now. Here's the really cool part. I'm going to go back to display pages on the left. And I'm going to delete the whole widget from this page. And I'll go over to the right side and go into my widgets category. And here is my widget that I've got here. So I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to bring it out here, and I'll set it right here for this example. I'll put it on this side of the screen here. So now what I want to do, team, is I want to have everything in here connect to everything that is in that folder called MyTank. So when we created the widget, I'll just right-click on this real quick here, and then I'll click Edit Definitions down there. I just want to show you something. When we created this, team, we enabled the folder binding down here. So we're going to take advantage of that, and I'll show you what this does. This is really cool. So to bind everything in here to everything that is in the MyTank folder, I'm simply going to right-click on the widget anywhere, just right-click anywhere out here. And the fourth thing from the bottom is Bind Widget. So I'm going to click on the Bind Widget here, brings up this target symbol here, select the appropriate folder in the resource pane, and drag and drop in this window. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the whole folder of MyTank and drag and drop it right here on this folder symbol. And what Crimson's going to do is it's going to go in this folder when I drop this, and it's going to look for a temp F. It's going to look for level milliamps, level raw, and so forth. And if it finds things spelled the same, it'll link them up. So here, I'll drop it right here. 1, 2, 3. Boom. There you go. And look, once I did that, team, I can see, I'll zoom in a little bit, I can see level raw here, pump max here has some default values. So I can see that things got connected. So let's go ahead and test this. I'm going to go ahead and save my program, and I'll hit the download here. Let's see what it does here. I got the web server, I think, up and running. All right, so here it is. Maybe I'll make this a little bigger so you guys can see it in the, well, maybe I won't, 'cause mouse, I bought this mouse, and it's just really, I just need to buy a different mouse. You know, you resize one time and it does this too. All right, here we go. So I've got in here the name Brandon. Ironically, I taught a class yesterday, so it's using that database. So I'll put in that name there, and level max is at 20. So if I wanted to change this to 25, for instance, you can see that the scale changes accordingly. If I click on my pump, look, I'm filling up the water. Let's see what happens when the tank gets full or the bucket gets full. Look, got my awesome splashy indicating overflow. If I turn that off, there it is. And of course, if I open the valve, I can see that it drains down. And of course, I could turn on the pump at the same time, and it doesn't fill up because the valve's still open. But pretty cool. That's that. So there we are. We just made our first widget. Well, we completely, and we've bound the whole thing. Really, what's so cool about this, team, is if you look at this actual thing, it's really a combination of 3 widgets in one. Because if you remember, we widgetized this device first, made it a widget, and then we widgetized the valve, made that a reusable thing, and then we took the whole operation, or the whole application here, or primitive, if you will, widgetized the whole thing. So really cool concept. And then if you have any errors, this is another thing yesterday I taught a class, there was an error, and when the person went to bind the widget, it would say at least one error or one item did not bind. And when we came to this part, when I right-clicked and did properties, we saw that there was nothing in like this field here. And I was intrigued. I thought, that's weird. Wonder why I didn't. And then I happened to look over here, and the person had typed, instead of level max, for some reason they'd typed level min or something. And so we went to edit here, changed this to be the same spelling as the tag over here, and went back through and then rebound, and it all connected correctly. So it worked out good. Then I had another student recently who did that and said one procedure didn't bind, and we had everything here. This all looked great, but we couldn't figure out which one didn't bind. We know that this was a widget and this was a widget, and in that class yesterday, I forgot to, when we made this thing a widget, we forgot to turn on folder binding. So what we did is we went, to fix that problem, we went and clicked on the widget one time. Notice you get a red border. Now I want to alter this item inside the widget. So I'll click on this guy again. Notice now I got a green border. Green border means I'm inside working with elements. So this is the thing here that we had to fix. So I right click on this, go to properties, and we had saw before that it didn't have this in that student's thing yesterday, because when I went to edit, I forgot to turn on the binding, which prevented this tag from getting all the way bound to the tag within a folder. So once we enabled the binding and redid a bind, everything worked out great. So pretty cool. We've got our complete tank widget working, and we're going to go forward with some additional logic here in a little bit. But this is pretty much where we are up until about noon in my class. So that's where we're at right now, and we'll come back and do some other things in the next video. Thanks a lot, folks. See you later.